Your pipeline just died with Java I/O, NotSerializableException, groovy.json.JsonSlurper. That JsonSlurper you've used for years. It's not serializable, and CPS Transformation just exposed it. Let's break down Jenkins Groovy scripting for pipelines, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Jenkins Groovy scripting is the language behind both scripted and declarative pipelines. When you write pipeline code, Jenkins compiles it into a workflow using CPS transformation, which allows pipelines to pause and resume. In pipelines, use def for variables. Lists and maps are serializable if their contents are. Closures must avoid capturing non-serializable objects like Jenkins, getInstance. Always wrap pipeline steps in try catch finally. Rethrow exceptions to mark the build as failed. For non-CPS methods, return success failure flags instead of throwing. CPS transformation rewrites your code into a state machine. It only supports certain loop constructs, and closures must be serializable. Avoid classic for loops and switch statements. Non-CPS tells Jenkins to run the method atomically without CPS transformation. Use it for data parsing or computation, but never call pipeline steps inside it. Serialization is key for pipeline resumability. Any non-serializable object in scope causes NotSerializableException. Use non-CPS to isolate such objects. The CPS transformer behavior can change between Groovy versions. The article targets Jenkins 2.44 Plus with Groovy plugin 1 Plus, which bundles Groovy 2.4x. If you upgrade to a newer Groovy plugin, e.g., 2.5 Plus, some patterns like listeach may behave differently due to Groovy's closure serialization changes. Always test after plugin upgrades. The article mentions avoiding Java, util, stream, but doesn't show a safe alternative. Use non-CPS to wrap stream operations, as streams are not serializable. This snippet demonstrates filtering a list with streams inside non-CPS method. When loading shared libraries, each library version gets its own ClassLoader. If you store objects from one library version in a pipeline variable and later load a different version, you may get ClassCastException or no-class-def-found error. Always pin library versions and avoid storing library-specific objects across pipeline restarts. The script console at Script is your best friend for debugging. You can test serialization, check versions, and inspect pipeline state without running a full build. JsonSlurper and XMLSlurper are not serializable. Instead, use shell commands like jq and xmlint via the sh step. This returns a string that is serializable. Shared libraries let you reuse pipeline logic. Keep vars/methods thin and use src/helper classes with non-CPS for heavy lifting. Always pin versions. Jenkins provides retry and timeout steps. For custom backoff, implement a loop with sleep. Ensure any exception thrown is serializable to avoid serialization errors. When using parallel, each branch runs in its own context. Modifying a shared variable won't work. Collect results via return values or a serializable map. Use echo for logging in pipelines. It's serializable and appears in the build log. Println writes to system out and may cause issues. Use script console for interactive debugging. Gstring and string are not equal in map lookups, so convert keys with toString. Use safe navigation and explicit null checks to avoid bugs. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The pipeline had a JsonSlurper instance in a CPS transformed method. When Jenkins tried to serialize the state at a checkpoint, it found the non-serializable JsonSlurper and threw NotSerializableException. A JsonSlurper call in a CPS transformed method caused NotSerializableException after a Groovy update. Replacing it with a shell command using jq and marking remaining parsing with non-CPS fixed the pipeline. The fix was to replace JsonSlurper with a shell command using jq. The sh step returns a string, which is serializable. Any remaining data parsing was moved to non-CPS methods. This resolved the incident and prevents recurrence. Using JsonSlurper inside a pipeline causes NotSerializableException because it's not serializable. Always use shell commands with JQ instead. If you annotate a method with non-CPS and call sh inside it, you'll get an illegal state exception. Move the shell call to a CPS method and keep it non-CPS for pure logic. If a closure captures a non-serializable object like Jenkins, get instance, the pipeline may fail intermittently with serialization errors. Pass the URL as a string instead. If you don't pin the library version, an update can break your pipeline. Use library mylib at v123 to lock the version. To diagnose serialization errors, use script console to inspect the execution state. The command shown prints the serialized state, helping you find non-serializable objects. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is CPS transformation? Jenkins rewrites Groovy into a serializable state machine for resumability. When to use non-CPS, for pure data processing methods that don't call pipeline steps. Why does for int I equals 0, I10, I++ fail? CPS cannot handle mutable integer counters, use for item and iterable instead. And a few frequently asked questions. Why do I get not serializable exception? A variable in scope is not serializable, use non-CPS or shell tools. Can I use Java objects in pipelines? Yes, but they must be serializable if stored in variables. How to debug a stuck pipeline? Use script console to inspect execution state. To recap, always use def, echo, and try catch. Use non-CPS for data processing. Ensure serializability. Structure shared libraries properly and pin versions. Use built-in retry and timeout. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Jenkins REST API and CLI automation, then Jenkins email notification setup, then Jenkins environment variables reference. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.